Ty Hudson, Hogville.net, Hogville Net right here on YouTube. Check it out. Arkansas football coverage. The Hogs taking on Bama at home coming up this week. Is there anything else from the Texas A&M game that, causes you concern? Did anybody step out? Did anything change about your evaluation of this team? It doesn't sound like it. You think they're 10 points better than Texas A&M?
Yeah, no, I think there's still, and look, I get hit every time I'm on your show. I get people that come over to Tuss Talk with Ty YouTube or Hogville, and they scream at me about being negative. Man, I picked them 9-3 or 8-4. And I still feel like they're an 8-4 club. I think Saturday was just, like I said, a perfect storm and A&M took advantage. And like Sam Pittman said in his post game, or when he was talking to his players in the locker room, he said A&M was better than us today. And that was the case. I feel like 8 times out of 10, Arkansas wins this game. And then probably 5 out of those 10, they win by 14, 17 points. Now you can call me a homer. I don't really care. But if you watch that game and how it was going up until that fumble, Arkansas was about to really open this thing up. They ran all over A&M. And I will say the play calling, once they get on the other side of the field, on the Aggie side of the field, got bizarre. They go from, and I asked Dudley Dawson, who's a writer at Hogville for us, I asked him what he thought about the running back distribution, the different running backs. Dominic Johnson, who finally got to play this year, got just 5 carries in this ball game. But in all 5 of his carries, the dude shot out like a cannon. I mean, he was wonderful. All the running backs were. Hell, Rashad Dubinion had 2 carries for 17 yards. He looked really good. Dominic Johnson carried the ball 5 times for 32 yards. AJ Green 9 for 36. Rocket 17 for 68. A little bit uncharacteristic for him to not be north of 5.5 a carry, but they were running easily up and down on the Aggies. It came down to, again, the KJ fumble. I think it just deflated this team a little bit on both sides of the ball, but mostly on offense. And then the play calling decision, the decision making or the situational awareness by Kendall Briles, where I think he felt like they were still doing just fine, and he could do these little trick plays with Malik Hornsby or these double reverses or the reverse pass, all this stuff. He gets cute on their side of the field. A lot of fans not happy about it, and I agree with them. Just keep going north-south. I think they were doing just fine. And the missed snap, too, by Stromberg. I don't remember if it was second and short, but that was a huge, huge moment there that people aren't talking enough about. And that's what set up the ending, if you ask me. But overall, I think if Arkansas had stuck to their game plan, north-south run game, not gotten cute, again, you could pick out just a few of these little moments. Arkansas wins this game pretty easily.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the play-by-play to figure out how many yards that cost them. Had to cost them 10 or 12 yards on the field goal.
Yeah.
Something like that. And last week, Ty, I was actually going to ask you about Dominic Johnson coming back into the lineup. Of course, he was technically the starter above Raheem Sanders prior to getting hurt, correct or no?
No, I think it would have been Rocket and then Dom John, and then AJ Green, and then take your pick. Of course, Dubinion. We got another kid, James Joyner, who honestly I think is a capable number 2 back, maybe even a starter in certain places in the SEC. Well, maybe not starter, but definitely a number 2 guy. Their backfield is just loaded. But yeah, Dominic would probably have been at certain points last year was the starter, and Of course, it's hard to say, too, because, he was in a knee brace all offseason, all through fall camp. He was in a knee brace. He was in a green jersey, which is the no-contact jersey, when I've been there. He looked fragile at certain times, but then the weeks when they took the jersey off and they kept the brace on, you could tell he wasn't really himself. And then when he got the brace off and you watched him run, it was like, this guy's ready to go. And Rocket was the starter, and I think he probably would have been. And you could see that evidence is clear. I mean, Rocket I think he's still the SEC's leading rusher, if I'm not mistaken. But Dominic would have been it would have been nice to have him earlier in the year, but they were undefeated coming into this game, so it's not like a huge necessity. But it's so good to see him back out there, and I hope he's a bigger part of the game plan next week because I think they're going to need him.
Warren Thompson went up top for a big touchdown.
Great play by KJ. I love that you're asking me about that, by the way, Mark, about my guy Warren Thompson. He's not been that. I'll be honest. He's struggled this year. He's got a few drops. Shocker. I know. He's got some drops, but man, he finds ways to get open. And of course, some of that's KJ extending the play, rolling out of the pocket, something KJ does so well. It seems like when you really need a wide receiver, someone's there, whether it's been Matt Landers, Warren Thompson, Jaden Hazelwood. Earlier in the year, Trey Knox. And we're seeing less Trey Knox, which is unfortunate, but it's also a good thing because it means your receivers are finding ways to get open and KJ's making, he's finding them and they're in rhythm. But I think Warren, that's got to be a game for him where he can build off of, get a little bit of confidence going. They've talked about that a lot. We're hearing the players talk about confidence. They were talking about KJ a couple of weeks ago, how upset he was off a bad practice that he had. And then Matt Landers was coming out of a game where, it was coming out of the, I think it was South Carolina where he had the drop. You and I talked about it. And apparently that kind of hit him. And they've talked about how they've been in their feels a little bit, Mark. And they need these confidence building moments, and hopefully Warren can build off this. And it's weird. Their big plays were great, but take away a couple of bad, and they're in a different mindset today. I'm going to be curious to see how they look. I'm going to be down there at practice today, assuming they allow the media down there. I'm going to be there, and I'm curious to see how they look. Because I've seen them out of wins. I want to see what they look like out of a loss, out of a tough loss, a gut-wrenching loss. I'm really curious to see how well or what they look like today.
Yeah, so they lost 9 yards on the bad snap.
9, okay.
Cam Little from 30 to 39, so you're looking at a 33-yard field goal instead, is 7 for 8 from 30 to 39 in his career.
Not bad. I mean, he's been automatic, and it was just unfortunate. And again, I've never seen anything like that. They're calling it the oink doink.
That's good. That's good. It's not good for you, but it's good. You gotta laugh about it at this point.
It's not good, and I hope he doesn't see it. I hope Cam he laughs it off.
You don't want him to see it. No,
but yeah. It is what it is.
And they showed him on the sideline for so long after that kick. And I'm guessing it was the holder sitting next to him, talking to him. And, what do you say to somebody? You're amazing. We wouldn't be here without you. You can say all those cliche things and they might be true, but what do you say?
I mean, some of it from some media people, and I think there's some truth in it. It shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with. They shouldn't have been in that situation where they needed Cam. But you know what? That's the goal that's the job of a field goal kicker. You're out there sometimes. The game is on the line. You got to make that kick. Some folks, again, I was listening to the sports radio around here, and some of the media people aren't happy with him. They said, well, I shouldn't say they're not happy with him, but they're saying that we're not holding him accountable. That's his job. You got to go out and make that kick. I guess you can look at it from that perspective, and maybe I would agree with it. But I don't. You can't put it all on KJ's fumble. You can't put it all on Ricky Stromberg's missed snap. By the way, rare that happens. Stromberg is an all-American caliber type center. I mean, this is a guy that could very well be taken somewhere in the second or third round this year. You can't look at the drops. You can't. I mean, you have to combine those things, and that's essentially why we're talking about the game the way that unfolded, the way that we are. Why Arkansas lost this game by 2 points. I think they covered the spread. I think the spread was 2.5. The great teams cover. I will say that, and that was nice, assuming that was the correct cover, or the spread. But I don't know what you say to Cam. I really don't. I don't know what I would have said. I probably would have just said, "Hey, man, suck it up, chin up, and let's get ready for Bama." I guess that's really all you can say. But I felt for him. They showed him and some other players just really hanging their heads, and I felt for them. That was a gut-wrenching loss, especially when you're the better team, and you finally ended that losing streak a year ago to A&M, a losing streak that should not have existed despite how bad Arkansas was under Chad and the later Bielema years. Still should not have had that losing streak that they had. They ended it a year ago, and I think they were wanting to build off of it and do it again this year, start a win streak of their own. unable to do it. It was really unfortunate, but again, they're going to have to get ready because it doesn't get any easier. The SEC does not apologize. They don't, they're not going to wrap their arms around you and say, oh, it was okay. No, they're going to give you Bama the next week. So pucker up.
Yeah, and that's my only concern about this team. I think it's a really good team. I think it's clearly a top 15 team in America, is that when the schedule's brutal, there's always a team or two across the country every year that at the end of the year, if you really objectively look at it, like they're a lot better than 7-5, man. That's a 7-5. I know that the record finished 7-5, but their schedule was brutal and somebody got hurt there. Yeah. And then they lost like 4 of those games, like in excruciatingly close fashion. That's one of the concerns here with the gauntlet, that, you could be sitting here. I'll just throw out a record. What are you, 3-1 right now? You could be sitting here 5-3 a few weeks from now, and every loss was like this, and you're not going to be ranked. I'm not forecasting this. I'm just using this as an example. We see it every year. The team's not ranked, but they should be ranked. They're one of the top 15 teams in the country, but since everybody goes by record first and foremost, and you're sitting there with like these excruciating losses to the likes of Bama and Texas A&M, and throw in somebody else.
Yeah, well, it starts, and this was the thing. The A&M game for me was the catalyst. It's ending the month of September 4-0, which, I mean, when have they done that? It's been a minute since they've done that in Fayetteville. But it's also because it's the start of one of the most brutal stretches in college football. A ranked A&M team, obviously a top 3 Alabama team, at Mississippi State, who I don't know where you're at with them. I think they should be ranked. And then at Provo, Utah, at BYU. Say what you want, they haven't looked good lately, but at home they are a different team, and they are pretty tough at home. We saw what they did a year ago, and so many of those guys are back this year. They're going to be welcoming an SEC team, and every time you have an SEC team, no matter what they are, it's always going to kind of rally the troops at home a little bit, creates a little bit of buzz and energy, because you got an SEC team coming into town, and not just any SEC team, a team that is a worthy opponent in Arkansas. No matter what the record is at that point, they very well could be riding a 3-game losing streak into that game. It very well could happen. I'm leaning towards it being probable right now. And so you're going to have to deal with that crowd. And then, later on in the 29th, you get to go on the road against Auburn, who, don't know what to think about. Well, I know what to think about them, but that's still so long away, or it's so far away. But yeah, the A&M game for me was kind of the catalyst. It's the starting point for, you come out of that with a win. Well, then if you have a close loss at home against Bama and a close loss on the road against Mississippi State, you're still at that point only a 2-loss team, and you're still ranked. But you lose these next 2, you're going to drop out of the top 25, and all that hype and excitement is just poof, gone. And that's Razorback fans. I love them. I love them to death. I am one, but they are probably some of the most fickle fans. And I know I'm probably going to have someone take a shot at me over that. I really don't care. I'm born and raised in Fayetteville. I probably know this better than anyone. Been to a lot of games in the old Barnhill Arena in basketball, Bud Walton, Little Rock, Fayetteville, Reynolds Stadium in Fayetteville. They're the most fickle bunch. Once there's a couple of losses, Mark, the attendance drops dramatically. And you could say that about a lot of places. But it's weird considering Arkansas, when there is hype and there is excitement, you feel it, man. You can feel it down in your gut all the way into your bones. Like, oh my God, the excitement, it's just palpable. But then when things go bad, or you see a little bit of diversity, or you have a loss you shouldn't lose, it's just all gone. And it's zapped like that. I hope they prove me wrong this year. If they do have a losing streak, that when Liberty comes to town, because that'll be after this stretch, that's your first home game. And then you have LSU and Ole Miss. Maybe they'll all still swarm, and they'll want to take part, and they'll want to be there, and they'll still have that energy. But I'm not trying to say that they're for sure losing all these games. I'm not saying that, but that is absolutely a possibility. And I think it's probably more probable than not that they're going to be going into that Liberty game with a tough stretch of games in terms of losses. At Auburn, I think right now you got to feel pretty confident right now, but nothing's a given in this conference.
There it is from Ty Hudson. Get on over there to Hogville Net right here on YouTube, Hogville net.com as well, but right here on YouTube, you see it right there. Yeah. I appreciate you stopping by, breaking things down for us.
Yeah, Mark, thanks for having me on as always. I hope Hog fans are still excited. Look, there's still so much football left. I love it. Win or lose, I'm excited for Alabama. I think this is a good football team they have in Fayetteville. It's just a really tough schedule, a tough slate ahead of them. But you know what, man? I'm just glad football's here, and I'm glad they at least have a respectable product on the field. And again, I do think they're a good football team. A lot of football left to be played. A lot of surprises, I think, still left in store for the season, not just in Fayetteville, but across college football. It's already been wild.